Hello, my name is Delia and today I will present you video 9 game integration from the Let's Play Greener project from Erasmus+. We have now reached the final stage of this training. Now that you have defined all the components of your game, you just have to integrate them into the game engine and assemble them together. In this module, we will see how to create game levels and integrate them into the engine. We're going to talk about level design and code, so I hope you're well hooked and that you have all the other modules in mind. If all goes well, the bricks mentioned above will be set up with the beauty of elegance of a puzzle. Provide a hammer anyway, some parts could make a resistance. The game engine. As mentioned above, the game engine is the software that allows you to integrate sounds and images, organize them into scenes, and assign behaviors to them. The development team has control over this software, but as much as possible, everyone should be aware of its operation and constraints. Using Stencil as an example, the components of the game are organized into actors, sets, sounds, scenes, and behaviors. In order, it is necessary to create a scene, add a set, and associate this set to the scene, add an actor who corresponds to the player character, and place it in the desired place. Add other actors who correspond to the platforms and obstacles, and place them in turn, etc. If you start the game at a time, the scene will appear, but it remains to code the player's control, i.e. desired behaviors, walking, jumping, etc. As soon as the project is created in the game engine, coders will need information such as the size of the game screen, its composition, the size of the player character, and its possible behaviors. At first, they can work without any graphic or audio asset. A simple rectangle of color or an image found on the net is enough. They are called placeholders because they occupy the place while waiting for the real asset. Often, game engines offer a library of assets and behaviors ready to use. Let them use and abuse it. They can easily modify them later. It is important not to get discouraged and to get results quickly. Because of the game features that they will have to develop with their little hands, which takes hours to create, they will have a lot of them. And again, I won't talk about bugs. The level design. Once the scene of your game is created and the behaviors of the player character are functional, you will be able to create successive challenges on the player's path. To begin with, game designers, we also talk about level designers, can draw the levels on grid paper and imagine a series of obstacles that are difficult to overcome. To do this, they will need to know exactly what the player character's abilities are. For example, in the case of a platform game, it is complicated to place the platforms in the right place if you don't know how many the character can jump from. In this context, the idea is to create a situation that will challenge the player. When he discovers it, he must think, what am I going to get out of it? Then formulate hypotheses and test them. He will train, fail, start again until he succeeds and gloats with satisfaction. As much as possible, the player is challenged around the acquisition of pedagogical objectives as outlined in Module 7. For example, improve the player's control over controls, contribute to his understanding of narrative issues, or explain the causes of water pollution. Finally, on the level design, if your game has to have several levels, it means that your coders will have to set up a level selection screen. At first, only the first level is accessible, then the others are unlocked one by one. They will also need to specify the conditions of victory and defeat and what happens on the screen in each of these situations so that they can integrate it in a timely manner. Often, these are details that we do not think about, but it is an important part of the game to be able to lose or to win. Finalization and export. Developing a video game is a lot of work, but there will come a time when you will see the end of it. Your game will have a startup screen, credits, a backup system, and an options management screen. Let's be crazy. But more importantly, you will have a beginning, an end, and several levels in between. But you will have created an experience that interacts with players without you being at their side. Before you cut the sparkling water, you still have one important step left, the QA, or quality assurance, which consists in manipulating the game in all directions in search of the latest bugs. If you're the type to crash a computer as soon as you touch it, this is your chance. Be careful. These steps should not be confused with playtests, which are used to check the quality of creative and design choices. At this point, you're not finished yet. You still have to export the game and then check with your students to make sure that the game runs properly on their respective devices. Exporting your file consists in obtaining an executable file on the support of your choice. Would you like your creation to be played on the web, on a PC, on a Mac, on a mobile, Android or iOS? The easiest thing to set up for me is to plan a web or PC export and then host it on an itch.io page. A banner, a few screenshots, a selling text, and your creation is online. On mobile, you will have to go through a respective blinds. Note that Mac versions must be exported to a Mac. If you have a hosting provider in your riding, it is best to check with the manager. Concluded. That's it. I have shared with you much of what I know about video games, how they are designed and how they can best be used in the classroom. I know that it's a lot of information, it doesn't tell you exactly how to do it. I would love to meet these kinds of expectations, but the needs vary so much from one class to another, from one game to another, and from one teacher to another, that I had to remain generic in my approach. To conclude, I would say that video games may seem difficult to access, and game engines may be perfectly obscure for those who are not familiar with them. But once your students have learned to identify themselves and master these tools, they can reuse them in their leisure time for their future and, who knows, to become more informed customers. At least it is my will, and I hope that this training will have helped you to do so.